All right, let's break down a powerful framework for making 2026 your most transformational year yet. But before we get into the how, I want to start with a question about the who. Think about it. 1 year from now, at the very end of 2026, who are you going to be?
You see, on that day, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to fall into one of two groups. The first group, they made a clear decision a year ago, they took action every single day, and now they're looking back with this incredible sense of pride at everything they've accomplished. And the second group, they're just letting out a deep sigh thinking, man, nothing changed again this year, stuck in the exact same spot, just filled with that awful sting of regret.
The difference between these two potential futures, it's night and day. One is all about growth and self-respect, and the other is about staying stuck with all those what-ifs. And this isn't just a feeling, there's actually some hard data behind why this split happens year after year.
So check this out. Statistics show that while a good number of people set New Year's goals, only a tiny 8% actually see them through. That means a mind-blowing 92% of people just give up. So what's the secret? What separates that successful 8% from everybody else? Well, it's not about having more willpower. It's because most of us get sidetracked by short-term pleasures, and we lose sight of the person we really want to become.
But hey, you're here. That tells me you've decided this is the year you get serious. And you absolutely can. You've got 365 days, over 8,700 hours. How you choose to invest that time is going to completely change the entire direction of your life. You literally have the power to design your year.
So, in this explainer, we're going to break down 5 concrete, science-backed steps to make sure 2026 is the year you join that 8%. And this isn't just fluffy motivation stuff either. It's a real strategy, rooted in neuroscience and behavioral psychology that you can start using today.
All right, let's dive into step 1. This is the big one: radical selection and concentration. Honestly, this is the foundation for everything else that we're going to talk about.
You know how it is. A new year starts, you feel that rush of optimism, and you make this huge list of goals, right? We think, this is the year I'm going to do it all. And I totally get it. That feeling is powerful. But I've got to be straight with you. This is a shortcut to failure. Research from Stanford behavior scientist B.J. Fogg has shown that our brains have a really limited capacity for new things. It's because of something called cognitive load. When you try to do everything at once, you're basically scattering your brain's energy all over the place, and you burn through all your willpower just trying to figure out what to do next. You don't just fail, you burn out.
So here's the absolute key takeaway for this step. For 2026, you've got to choose a maximum of 3 goals. That's it. Seriously. 1 is powerful, 2 is great, but never, ever more than 3. This isn't about being less ambitious, it's about being smarter and respecting how our brains are actually wired. In the game of achievement, focus is your superpower.
Now, if you're wondering what to focus on, these 3 pillars are incredibly powerful: health, money, and work or purpose. Think about it. Your health is the engine that runs everything. Money gives you freedom and options, and your work or purpose gives your life meaning. And here's the really cool part: the domino effect. When you make a breakthrough in one of these areas, it sends this huge positive ripple effect through the others. Improve your health, your energy for work just skyrockets. Grow your business, and now you have the resources to invest in your health. This is why we concentrate our fire.
Okay, so you've picked your 1, 2, or maybe 3 core areas. Now that you know where to focus, let's talk about how big you should be aiming. Because, let's be real, a goal that seems easy based on what you're doing today isn't really a goal. It's just a to-do list.
This comes from a powerful idea called 10x thinking, which was made famous at Google. See, when you aim for a small 10% improvement, you just try to work a little harder. But when you aim for a result that's 10 times bigger, your brain is forced to admit that your current way of doing things is useless. It forces you to just rip up the old playbook and invent a whole new game from scratch.
But, and this is super important, I've learned this the hard way, a 10x goal can be so huge that it's actually paralyzing. I've been there. The number is so big that your brain just kind of shuts down. That's why I recommend aiming for a 2x or maybe a 3x goal instead. That right there, that's the sweet spot. It's big enough that you have to change your approach, but it feels just on the edge of what's possible. And that's exactly where inspiration lives.
Let me give you a real-world example from my own life. In January 2025, I had about 17,500 subscribers, and my realistic goal was to hit 25,000 by the end of the year. But I decided to set a 2x challenge goal of 50,000. That much bigger number forced me to rethink everything: my editing, my titles, my whole process. So what happened?
I ended the year at 36,400. So yeah, I missed the 50K, but I absolutely blew past my original safe goal. That's the magic of setting a bigger, crazier target.
So, now you've got your focused, slightly crazy goal. But the big question is, how do you keep showing up every single day, especially when you just don't feel like it? That brings us to step 3. You have to build a reward system by gamifying your actions.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your brain for a second. It's motivated by a chemical called dopamine, which it gets when it expects a reward. The problem is, a huge goal that's a whole year away is just too abstract. It doesn't give you that dopamine hit. But a small reward today, your brain goes nuts for that. So the trick, the hack really, is to create a system that gives your brain these little hits of dopamine today for taking action. We've got to build a little dopamine loop.
Here's a super simple rule I use myself. I absolutely love going to the sauna. So I made a deal with myself, and it's non-negotiable. I am not allowed to go until my most important tasks for the day are 100% complete. Not halfway, not mostly done, finished. Suddenly, my desire for the sauna is actually the fuel that gets the work done.
Here's one more just to show you how this can work. I made a rule that every time I upload a new video, I put 1,000 yen into a clear box for travel. The key thing isn't the amount of money. It's that I can physically see the reward getting bigger with every single action I take. It makes the connection real. And this doesn't have to be about money. It could be putting a marble in a jar for every workout. The key is to make the reward immediate and visible.
Okay, this next step, it might be a little controversial. It's something a lot of us push back on, but it is absolutely essential if you want to see massive results. We have to talk about strategically accepting imbalance.
You hear it all the time, right? Work-life balance. But if you want to truly transform your life in 2026, you have to be willing to temporarily trade that perfect balance for focused momentum. Trying to be pretty good at everything usually leads to a pretty average life. If you want to achieve something exceptional, you have to be willing to give something up for it. It's a trade.
I went through a period where my schedule looked exactly like this. It was intense. I turned down almost every social invitation. I had zero time for hobbies. But I need to be super clear about this. This is not forever. This is a season. It's a short-term strategic sprint that you do to build a future where you have more freedom, more options, and in the end, a much better balance on your own terms.
And that brings us to our final step. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all. After all the planning, all the focus, all the sacrifice, you have to see it through to the end, especially when it gets tough.
Look, success always takes way longer than you think it will. Always. That's why obsessing over the results is just a recipe for frustration and quitting. You have to fall in love with the process instead. You've got to shift your focus. Don't ask, did I lose weight? Ask, did I go to the gym today? You've got to celebrate the action, not the outcome, because the action is the only thing you truly have control over. Maybe 2026 isn't the year you get the result. Maybe it's the year you become the kind of person who keeps a promise to themselves. And that, right there, is infinitely more valuable.
So, here we are, right back where we started. At the end of 2026, are you going to be the person smiling with pride or sighing with regret? The thing is, that answer isn't decided a year from now. It's decided right now, today, with the choices you're about to make. Your life is a one-time event, and the year 2026 will only happen once. It's time to make it count.